What if getting rich isn't about, luck or just grinding away? What if it's a skill you can actually learn?
Right. And what if happiness isn't something you just find, but something you actively choose, something you build?
Exactly. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the thinking of Naval Ravikant. He's this really insightful founder, investor, kind of a modern philosopher.
Yeah, his ideas have influenced a lot of people. We're drawing from the Almanack of Naval Ravikant, which Eric Jorgenson compiled from his tweets, interviews, talks, basically distilling his wisdom.
And our goal here is to pull out the key insights on, well, two big things: wealth and happiness. We want to give you the core ideas, maybe spark some aha moments without you having to read everything.
Think of it as a shortcut to his main principles. Stuff you can actually think about, maybe apply, whether it's career, finance, just living a better life.
I'm genuinely excited to unpack this. His perspective is often quite different. So where should we start? Wealth seems like the logical place.
Makes sense. So Naval's first big point is challenging that idea about hard work and luck being the only paths to wealth. He argues it's a skill.
A learnable skill.
Yeah, a learnable skill set. It's about knowing what to do, who to do it with, and crucially, when to do it.
He's pretty confident about this, right? Didn't he say he could rebuild his wealth anywhere?
He did. He said if he lost everything, landed anywhere English-speaking, he could be wealthy again in like 5 to 10 years just using these principles.
Wow. Okay. And he makes a really important distinction early on, doesn't he, between wealth, money, and status?
Absolutely critical. Wealth, for him, is assets earning while you sleep, stuff that makes money for you.
Okay, so passive income, essentially.
Right. Money's just the transfer mechanism, how we move time and wealth around. And status. Well, status is your rank in the social hierarchy.
And he advises not chasing status if you want wealth.
Pretty much. Status games are often zero-sum, For someone to win, someone else often has to lose. Wealth creation, done right, should be positive sum. Everyone can benefit.
And you can create wealth ethically. He's clear on that. But if you secretly kind of resent rich people or wealth itself.
It'll probably hold you back. That mindset matters. You have to be okay with the idea of wealth creation. Avoid those status games.
Got it. So escaping status games, that leads into his concept of specific knowledge, right? What exactly is that? It's not just academic knowledge.
No, not at all. Specific knowledge is learned, often through pursuing your genuine curiosity. It's unique to you, your DNA, your upbringing, your passions, how you respond to things. It's honed over time.
Can you give an example?
He often uses sales skills. Some people just get sales, right? It's almost instinctual. That's a form of specific knowledge. It can be improved, sure, but there's often something innate there.
So instead of chasing hot jobs or what VCs are funding,
you should pursue what genuinely fascinates you. Your innate talents, your passions, that's where your specific knowledge lies.
Because that's where you'll outperform if you're genuinely interested.
Exactly. Specific knowledge is often on the cutting edge. Hard to teach, hard to figure out. Passion gives you the drive to push through that. Someone who loves it will just dig deeper.
This sounds like his idea of escaping competition through authenticity.
Spot on. If you build something that's a true extension of you, who can really compete, think of Joe Rogan or Scott Adams maybe. Their work is so them. It's hard to replicate.
Makes sense. You build on that unique knowledge. And then he talks about playing long-term games.
Yes, long-term games with long-term people. It's like compound interest, but for reputation and relationships.
So building trust over decades is very invaluable.
Hugely valuable. He talks about investing deeply in the right relationships. People you trust who operate ethically, like his relationship with A-Led Gill.
Because intentions don't matter as much as actions, ultimately.
Precisely. Your actions define you in the long run. It's about ethical behavior consistently. It builds that deep trust needed for long-term collaboration.
And this requires focus, right? Not spreading yourself too thin.
Yeah, be really thoughtful about where you put your time and energy. Focus on the few things, skills, relationships that will compound over decades.
Okay, specific knowledge, long-term relationships. What's next for amplifying this? Accountability.
Yes, embracing accountability, taking business risks under your own name.
That sounds risky.
It is, but the potential rewards are responsibility, equity, a piece of the upside, and leverage. Accountability lets you get credit when things go right.
And learn directly when they don't, building credibility.
Exactly. And he makes the point that, especially in places like Silicon Valley, the downside of honest failure isn't always as bad as people fear. People understand that innovation involves trying things that might not work out.
Which ties into needing equity owning a piece of the business.
Absolutely fundamental. He's really strong on this. You rarely get truly wealthy just by selling your time, your labor, even if it's for a high wage.
Because your earnings are capped by the hours you work. No passive element.
Right. No passive income, no nonlinear growth.
Huh.
He points out that even wealthy professionals, like doctors, often achieve that wealth by starting their own practice of business or owning valuable intellectual property.
Equity is owning the upside.
That's the key. And to maximize that upside, you need leverage.
We live in an age of infinite leverage, he says.
Yeah, especially digital leverage. The rewards for intellectual curiosity, for figuring out how to scale things, are massive right now. And often that valuable knowledge comes from just pursuing your hobbies, your passions.
Doing things for their own sake.
It sounds counterintuitive maybe, but yeah, do things because you love them. He found he made the most money when he wasn't trying to make money, just building things he found fascinating.
So find what society wants but doesn't know how to get and deliver it at scale, often using tech.
That's the formula. And leverage is the tool. He talks about 3 types.
Labor.
People working for you. Oldest form needs permission.
Capital.
Money working for you also needs permission. Someone has to give you the money.
And the new one.
Products with no marginal cost of replication. Code and media. This is permissionless leverage.
Like anyone can start a podcast or write software.
Exactly. It's the most democratic form. It's the leverage of the newly rich. Anyone with a computer can create something that works for them 24/7. It's incredibly powerful.
So optimize for independence if you can, not just pay.
That's his advice. Independence plus accountability. Leverage disconnects your inputs from your outputs, especially in creative fields. Your results aren't tied just to hours anymore.
He used a real estate example, didn't he? Moving up the leverage chain.
Yeah, from laborer to contractor to developer to ultimately building tech platforms like Zillow that leverage code and data at massive scale.
But take smart risks. Big upside. Avoid total ruin.
Rational optimism. Take bets where you can win big, but make sure you can't lose everything if it goes wrong.
And the end goal is to get paid for your judgment.
That's the aspiration. Let the leverage code, capital, labor do the heavy lifting. Your value comes from your unique knowledge, your decision-making.
Even slightly better judgment can be huge with leverage, like a CEO's decisions.
Immense impact. But remember, he says wealth creation is usually slow, steady, not one big lottery win.
And the internet offers so many opportunities. Time is the real bottleneck.
Which is why he says you should value your time highly. Figure out an hourly rate for yourself, and don't be afraid to spend money to save time if it costs less than your rate. Outsource things.
Okay, shifting gears slightly to mindset. We touched on not despising wealth. What else?
Avoid comparing yourself constantly to others. That relative mindset, jealousy, it's poison. Cultivate optimism. He thinks optimists generally do better long term.
And distinguish between those zero-sum status games and positive-sum wealth creation.
Right. And surround yourself with successful, positive people. The best way, help them first. Offer value. Karma works, he says, because people are generally consistent. Good deeds tend to attract good people.
He mentioned a boss warning him about being just good enough.
Yeah, that being competent but not exceptional can be a trap. It keeps you comfortable, but prevents you from really taking the leaps needed for significant wealth.
For him, work was more about solving problems.
He found that intrinsically motivating. The money followed. He sees life's games, school, status, even money as just that, games. You can choose which ones to play or even step outside them.
Which brings us to retirement. His definition is interesting.
It's not an age or a number. It's when today is complete in itself. You're not sacrificing the present for some future payoff.
How do you get there?
Multiple ways. Financial independence, obviously. Or drastically lowering your expenses, your burn rate, or ideally finding work that feels like play.
When building businesses becomes like art.
Exactly. When the motivation shifts from external rewards to the intrinsic joy of creating something cool, something you're passionate about, money becomes a side effect.
He invests that way too, right?
Yeah.
Based on liking the people and the product.
Seems so. And because it feels like play, he can work constantly without burning out. It's a huge competitive edge.
But he warns against lusting after money.
Yeah, bad for your soul, basically. And avoid lifestyle creep, letting your expenses rise with your income. That's key to actually achieving freedom. Value freedom above all.
Interesting point about winners getting addicted to the game.
Yeah, people who get really good at a game often keep playing long after the marginal utility drops off.
Yeah.
They just love winning that game.
Okay, last bit on wealth. Luck. Can you actually get lucky?
You can increase your surface area for luck, he argues. Prepare your mind, be sensitive to opportunities others miss, become so good they have to give you opportunities. Luck starts to look like destiny.
Build a reputation so people want to bring deals to you.
Right. It ties back to long-term games being positive sum. Everyone's making each other rich. Short-term games are zero sum. Everyone just trying to grab their piece.
He's not big on traditional networking, is he?
No, thinks it's mostly a waste of time. Better to just be someone who makes interesting things that attracts the right people.
And a quick heuristic on trust.
If someone talks a lot about how honest they are, maybe they aren't. Actions speak louder. His standard is high. The closer you want to get to me, the better your values have to be.
And finally, patience. It takes time.
It really does. Great people usually get great outcomes, but it might take decades. Apply specific knowledge with leverage, be patient, and you'll likely get what you deserve.
But making money doesn't automatically solve happiness problems.
Crucial point. It solves money problems. But the traits that help you make money, maybe high anxiety, relentless drive, might not be great for happiness. You might need to learn how to turn those off.
So the solution is wealth, health, and happiness. Okay, that's a lot on wealth. But judgment is key to applying all this, right? Let's move into that.
Yeah, judgment is hugely underrated. He calls wisdom judgment applied externally, knowing the long-term consequences of your actions.
And in this age of leverage, one good decision can be transformative.
Absolutely. Hard work builds the foundation for judgment and leverage. But judgment, the direction you apply that work, is more important than just raw effort. Better to walk slowly in the right direction than sprint down the wrong path.
So how do we think more clearly? That's the foundation.
Real knowledge has to be intrinsic, built from the ground up. Like Feynman said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it yourself.
Prioritize the fundamentals over just memorizing complexity.
Exactly. And he makes a maybe controversial point that moments of suffering often force clarity. They strip away illusions.
But our ego gets in the way.
Often, yeah. A smaller ego means less distortion, clearer perception, and he values boredom, empty space. Good ideas need room to breathe.
He talks about contrarianism too, not just disagreeing, but thinking independently.
Right. Independent reasoning, resisting conformity just because it's popular. Optimistic contrarians, he notes, are particularly rare and valuable.
To see reality clearly, you need to shed your identity. That sounds intense.
It means questioning the beliefs and labels you've attached to yourself. Are they still serving you? Uncondition yourself. Look critically at your habits. Detach from rigid self-definitions.
And communicate honestly and positively. Decision-making itself is crucial.
Massively important. People who are consistently right, who make good calls, are incredibly valuable.
So how do we get better at making decisions? Mental models.
That's his big recommendation. Load your head with useful mental models from various fields. He mentions Taleb, Ben Franklin. He sees his own tweets as pointers to these larger ideas, but you need the experience to really get them.
What are some key models he mentions?
Evolution explains a lot about society, he thinks. Basic science concepts like thermodynamics, complexity, basic math, probability, statistics, super important for business and finance, often underrated.
And falsifiability from science, being able to test if something is wrong.
Yes, a hallmark of real science. He's cautious about fields where predictions aren't easily testable, like, say, macroeconomics sometimes.
He has some practical decision rules too.
Yeah, like if you can't decide, the answer is no. Especially for big long-term commitments. There's so many options. Don't get stuck on mediocre ones.
And run uphill. Choose the harder path in the short term.
If you're truly split 50-50, yeah. The path with more short-term pain often avoids greater long-term pain or leads to more growth.
How do you collect these models efficiently?
Right. Read widely. Science, math, philosophy. Cultivate a love for reading itself. That's the superpower.
Read what you love until you love to read. Don't force it.
Exactly. Reread great books. Don't treat it like a race. Absorb deeply. Find your own way to internalize, maybe explaining it, maybe notes. He uses Twitter sometimes.
He treats books like blog posts, skips around, doesn't always finish.
Yeah, no obligation.
Yeah.
Read multiple at once. Focus on foundational concepts with predictive power. Prioritize originals and classics for the deep insights. Older problems often have well-tested solutions.
Be careful what you read, though. Thoughts stick.
Very true. Ultimately, the goal is a calm mind, a fit body, a loving home. Things you have to earn, not buy.
Okay, let's pivot to that second pillar. Happiness. Naval says he learned it. He wasn't always happy.
Right. He talks about going from being quite unhappy to consistently happy and Money was only a small part of that transformation.
So happiness is a skill, just like wealth building.
That's his core argument. He defines it as the state when nothing feels missing, your mind quiets down, you feel content, peaceful.
Meditation helps with acceptance, but it doesn't eliminate all suffering.
No, emotional pain still happens. But he sees real happiness as a side effect of inner peace, which comes primarily from acceptance, accepting reality as it is.
And cultivating indifference to things outside your control.
That leads to peace. He suggests actively working on your happiness baseline, like fitness, lowering identity attachment, quieting the mind, avoiding negativity, valuing time, reading philosophy, meditation, hanging out with happy people.
Happiness is a choice. Love and passion, too.
He believes so. Choices you make, skills you develop. Your mind is malleable. You don't have to accept your default programming. Every day is new. Let go of the past, regrets.
He mentioned enlightenment being the space between thoughts, achievable moment to moment.
Yeah, not some mythical state, but finding that stillness internally, even briefly. He poses the question, what if this life, right now, is the paradise you were hoping for?
For him, happiness is more about peace than, say, excitement or joy.
Yes, peace seems to be the foundation. He distinguishes between internal purpose, which aligns with happiness, and external imposed purpose, which often doesn't.
Addressing that constant low-level anxiety, the nexting, always looking to the next thing.
Right. The delusion that the next achievement will finally bring lasting peace. It rarely does. Happiness is internal. Focus there.
The problem with getting good at games is knowing when to stop playing.
Yeah, especially high-reward games. You get good, you keep going, even when it's not really serving your peace anymore. Our survival drives and hedonic adaptation keep us on that treadmill. You have to consciously decide to jump off.
Define success more broadly than just winning those games. Creators matter, too.
All right, people like Jobs, Satoshi, Musk, Andreessen. He believes achieving inner peace requires giving up the idea that your problems are primarily external.
And envy, that's a big one. The enemy of happiness.
He thinks so. Life isn't inherently hard, he says. We make it hard with our shoulds, our comparisons. Those are often multiplayer games. Happiness is single player. Your scorecard is internal.
How did he overcome jealousy?
By realizing you can't cherry pick someone's life. You'd have to take the whole package, challenges and all. When you're okay being you, envy fades.
So happiness is built by habits. It's a skill we can practice.
Exactly. You can learn it, get better at it with intention. Start by believing it's possible. Notice the abundance around you when you're present.
Train yourself to find the positive interpretation.
Yeah, make it a reflex. Simple things help too. Get sunlight, smile more. Question your desires. Do you really need that thing to be happy? Maybe drop caffeine. Daily workouts help clear the mind.
Judge less. Tell friends you're happy.
Reducing judgment lessens that feeling of separation.
Yeah.
And yeah, telling friends reinforces the identity. He has steps for building habits. Visualize, plan, identify triggers, tell people, track progress. It's a process. Knowing, understanding, explaining, feeling, being.
Acceptance is key, too. The 3 choices.
Yeah.
Change it, accept it, leave it.
Right. Wanting to change something causes suffering until it's changed. So limit your big desires, focus. Peace comes from a clear, present mind, hard, with many desires pulling you.
Acceptance lets you adapt. Any hacks for it?
Reflecting on past suffering and the growth that came from it helps. Also, consciously asking, what's the positive here? Even for small annoyances.
Yeah.
Train that mental muscle.
Thinking the universe is going to teach me something.
Yeah, framing it as a learning opportunity. Fundamentally, though, he thinks acceptance comes down to embracing mortality.
Accepting death brings meaning.
By highlighting life's brevity, yes. Makes you realize chasing legacy is maybe futile. We all end up as dust. That can bring peace, freedom to just live positively now.
Be intensely yourself. No one can beat you at being you.
Exactly. Don't emulate. Find where you are uniquely needed. That often requires irrational obsession, deep passion.
And this all ties back to choosing to care for yourself. Prioritizing health.
Above everything. Physical, mental, spiritual first, then family, he suggests. Health problems really put life in perspective.
Modern life often pulls us away from what's natural for us. Diet, exercise.
Yeah, our diets, sedentary lives, lack of sensory balance, even shoes, lack of temperature variation.
His diet thoughts, paleo-ish.
Seems like it. Mostly veggies, some meat berries. Avoid sugar and fat together. That combo is rare in nature and problematic. Ditch extremes. Recently invented foods. Less processed is generally better. Subtract before adding.
And exercise. Daily workout.
Game changer for him. Harder the workout, easier the day. Prioritize it. Cold showers, too, teach you that suffering often comes from avoidance, not the thing itself.
Meditation like dieting, talked about more than done.
Yeah. He prefers choiceless awareness, just observing the moment non-judgmentally. Quieting the mind reveals what you take for granted, the inherent goodness often present.
It shows you how out of control the mind is. The monkey mind.
Totally. But awareness creates separation. You can observe thoughts without being them, like a debug mode for the brain. It leads to calm, focus, presence.
The mind is trainable. You can reprogram it.
With awareness and intent, yes. Meditation is turning off society's noise and listening to yourself. It works best when done for its own sake, not striving for some outcome.
Okay. Growing yourself. Systems over goals.
Yeah, influenced by Scott Adams there. Create environments where success is more likely rather than just setting rigid goals. He uses his own journey from humble beginnings as proof it's possible if you have a functioning body and mind.
His advice, if you want to do it later, do it now.
There is no later. Learn new things by sticking to basics, following your enjoyment. Being unpopular initially can actually free you up.
Find what you are into. Key skills. Reading, math, persuasion.
Persuasion is learnable. Math helps with complexity. Courage isn't lack of fear, but not caring what others think. And value your time above all.
That taste of freedom can make you unemployable.
In the traditional sense, maybe. Once you control your own fate, it's hard to go back to taking orders.
Last bits on happiness. Freedom from uncontrolled thinking. Quieting the monkey mind.
That's a constant practice. He contrasts childhood presence with adolescent future focus and ego building. Uncontrolled thought is bad for peace. The mind should be a tool, a servant.
A busy mind speeds up subjective time.
Feels that way, doesn't it? Self-awareness is lifelong. Just realizing you are in the rat race is a big step. The modern struggle is against forces weaponizing distraction.
And quickly on philosophy, no belief in afterlife.
Finds no evidence. Sees death like pre-birth non-existence. Sees life as part of the universe's entropic unfolding.
Live by your values. Honesty, long-term thinking.
Core principles. Honesty is alignment between thought and speech. Compound interest in everything, relationships, projects, find value alignment with people. Disagreements often stem from value clashes.
He calls his philosophy rational Buddhism. Skeptical of unverifiable claims, but values Buddhism as a practical framework for internal well-being, happiness, presence, emotional control. Grounded in evolution, tested through personal experience. Try things, test them, keep what works.
Okay, wow, we covered a lot, so bringing it together. What are the really key takeaways here?
I think it's that powerful link, isn't it? Wealth creation as this skill you build, specific knowledge, leverage, judgment, and happiness, not as something external, but as this internal skill you cultivate through acceptance, mindful habits, managing your own mind.
They're intertwined. The person you become building wealth needs to be able to cultivate peace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe a question for you listening. As you go forward, what specific knowledge are you uniquely suited to develop? And maybe what patterns of that monkey mind can you start noticing, just observing without judgment?
That's a great place to leave it. If any of this resonated, definitely check out the Almanack of Naval Ravikant. This deep dive really just scratches the surface.
For sure. Lots more depth there. Thanks so much for tuning in and exploring these ideas with us today. Your curiosity makes these conversations possible.